everyone, Simon Keeling here at weatherweb.net. It is election day, Thursday, the 7th of May. Thanks again for watching. Now, I don't know about you, but I find elections fascinating. I know loads of people moan about it and say, oh, politicians are the same, isn't politics boring? I have to say, I have completely the opposite view. I find it fascinating. I love the feeling of election day, going, casting your votes, and then watching as the results come in to see who has been elected. Now, of course, we know that it's a very close run thing this year, once again, between the Labour Party and the Conservative Party. We've got the Liberals in there as well. Of course, we've got all the controversy around the SNP, the effect that will have. We've got the Greens, we've got Plaid Cymru, we've got the UKIP, we've got many other parties in there as well. So fascinating to see what happens. But as I say, a very, very close election. And what's interesting is to think, well, could the weather really be a factor that has a big impact on this year's election results? Of course, we're told that turnout is affected by the weather, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, because it has been quite a nice day across the country so far, particularly across more northern areas. You see here the satellite picture, look, showing us the cloud across Wales, across the Midlands and across East Anglia that's been producing some really heavy showers through the course of the morning, although things have improved during this afternoon. But the best of the sunshine is further north. Now, as well as that, what I've done is gone back through the archives. I've looked at previous election days from 1950, and I've assessed what the weather is like, what the weather was like on each of those election days, and whether it led to a Labour victory or to a Conservative victory. Of course, we've only had the one coalition, so actually I don't have enough data to look at coalition government. And I'll show you that in just a second, because it produces some fascinating results. I've combined the data, I've come up with means of what the weather was like on each of those election days, and therefore who was most likely to win, Labour or Conservative, and then compared it to this year to see what the weather's been like this year on election day, and to see if that gives us any clues, perhaps to tip the balance as to who is going to be forming the next government. What I will say is that our local MP is Gavin Williamson, and I know that Gavin watches the video, so hi Gavin. You might want to put your fingers in your ears and avert your gaze when I show you the results of my research. But I'll show you that in just a second. Now, I've been telling you about Weather School as well. Weather School dates have been announced now for autumn. We've got weather schools there for sailors and for pilots, and we've also got everyone's weather school as well. So if you're fascinated by the weather and you want to know more about how to forecast yourself, why the weather does what it does, come along to Weather School. The dates for September and October have been announced. Just go to weatherschool.co.uk for more information. Okay, enough from me. Let's get on. First of all, we're going to take a look at the shorter term, so the forecast for the coming week, and then I'll reveal those election results for you. Have a great day and take a look at this. I hope you find it as fascinating as I do. So despite rain being on its way on Friday for some of us, it actually looks like things are settling down as we get through the later part of the weekend into next week. Just a quick look through the pressure charts here. This is this afternoon. There's the showers that have been affecting central parts of the country today. And by heck were those showers heavy across parts of the Midlands this afternoon. We had some hail actually here in South Staffordshire. Many other areas dry. You've had a pretty good polling day. It's been a decent polling day weather. Of course, we'll take a look at that in just a mo. Friday sees low pressure coming in for the southwest, rain spreading its way eastwards during the course of Friday, probably across that sort of area generally, I think, during Friday. Drier off towards the east, drier off towards the north as well. Saturday sees low pressure in the North Sea. We've got a strong northwesterly flow coming in behind, some heavy showers, some outbreaks of rain, but improving all the time from the west as high pressure gets ready to show its face on Sunday. And really this gives us a taster for next week, because temperatures are going to be on the up. You know, we're going to be into warm conditions. Sunday looks as if it brings a bit of rain across western Scotland and Western Ireland later. Now, Monday, got a weak front that moves its way eastwards on Monday, I think bringing no more than cloud across most of England and eastern Wales, but there will be some showers off towards southwest England, western Wales, and some heavier showers or even longer outbreaks of rain across northern and western Scotland on Monday, but feeling warm to the south. Tuesday looking pretty warm once again and generally staying dry through Tuesday too. Bit of uncertainty on Wednesday, but I think generally a dry day. Probably going to be going for, I think, some showers across the eastern coast, but generally it looks as if Wednesday is dry and is going to be warm once again. Now, let me just show you the temperatures. No, we don't want that one, do we? What do we want? We want that one. These are the temperatures for next week. This is for London, but look at that. Look at the temperatures are rising upwards here. That there is the dizzy heights of 26 degrees potentially. That's into next week. Looking at Wednesday, potential for 26 degrees across the southeast. Don't get too excited, it doesn't last very long. Just look what happens by the next day. By the Thursday, we're down to around about 17. So it's certainly a taste of spring, a taste of early summer, whatever you want to call it. Looks as if we could get a couple of warm days in there. Right, okay, election fever is gripping the country at the moment. I know it's gripping the country right now, and I know how excited you are about the election. I'm no Russell Brand, am I? Thank goodness. But anyway, this is, I wanted to show you what the weather was like on previous election days and whether it led to a Labour win or whether it led to a Conservative win. So what I've done is gone back to 1950 and I've looked at what conditions were like on each of those election days from 1950 through to 2010. Now, this is the chart of mean 500 millibar height anomalies when Labour governments came to power. So this is election days that were successful for Labour governments. And you can see here, look, distinctly shows troughs out towards the east of the country, ridges off towards the west. Cool conditions really with a northwesterly flow. You'd have to say that overall, if you took that as a mean, it would be showery, cool, unstable days when the Labour Party has been voted into power on election day. Now, by contrast, look at the Conservative wins. So these are Conservative wins from 1950 onwards. And sharp contrast, look to Labour. There's Labour, there's Conservative. And just look what happens. We've got higher than normal heights up towards the north, lower than normal heights down towards the south. And that would tend to lean towards a predation of northeasterly winds or easterly winds across the country. Some rain potentially, yes, across the far south, but essentially fine, dry weather when the Tories are voted into power, when the Conservative parties are voted into power on election day. So a big difference there between fine weather when the Conservatives are elected and unsettled weather when the Labour Party are elected. And given the tightness of this election, how close the parties are, could it be the weather that really is the deciding factor? Well, this is election day 2015, so this is this year. These are the means of the 500 millibar heights today. And look, deep trough off towards the east, a kind of a weak ridge off towards the west, but a strong ridge, look, across western parts of Russia. Now compare that chart there with this one. And look, that's Labour wins. That's where we are today. The two are very, very similar. So, for those of you who are Labour supporters, the weather today is certainly in your favour. Those of you who are Conservative supporters, I'm afraid it's not really in favour for Conservative supporters at all. Those of you who Liberal Democrats, and of course last time round was coalition government, so we don't actually have enough data to put the means in to give us what the weather is like when coalition governments are voted into power. So we've just had to look at Labour and Conservative. But interesting to see that the weather today would line up in Labour's favour and would go for a Labour victory. So Who needs the exit polls at 10 o'clock this evening when you've got the weather? You've got the analogues from the weather from 1950 to tell us who will be coming to power at the end of today. And clearly from those analogues, it favours the Labour Party over the Conservative Party to get into power. Making no political points here whatsoever. I'm showing you just how it is. Anyway, just a little bit of fun, isn't it? Listen, for now, I'm going to leave you with that. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Also, we'll send you an email of when these forecasts are updated. Use the contact form at weatherweb.net just to let us know you'd like to be added to the list, and we'll do that for you with pleasure. But for now, if you've not voted for yet, and I know loads of you will have done already, then why not get out and cast your vote. The polling station's open until 10 o'clock this evening. But for now, whatever you're doing, thanks again for watching. Keep the sun shining, and bye for now.